Good to have you back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the other boards and screens and displays that we haven't looked at so far, but are available for viewing. I've changed the game to one involving 3 players, and I've included the upstairs-downstairs expansion. When you're playing with the upstairs-downstairs expansion, you can optionally play with milestones. Those are public objectives that players are trying to achieve over the course of the game. You can bring up the display of milestones by clicking the M button or hitting the M key on your keyboard. When you hover over a milestone, it reminds you what you're trying to achieve to score that particular milestone. Each milestone can only provide points for up to 2 players. The first player to achieve a milestone scores 8 points. The second player scores 4 points. Clicking the milestone display or clicking the M button or hitting the M key, either one of those will hide the milestone display. The R button brings up the round track, or you could hit the R key on your keyboard. You'll see one or both of the Fairchilds, depending upon whether either one or both happen to reside in a player's hand. Most importantly, you'll see what round it is. Another reminder is over here, obviously, you've seen that. The number of theme cards remaining in the theme deck is displayed here, and the number of VP cards in the VP card deck is displayed over here on the right. The S button, or the S key on your keyboard, brings up the supply board. This is not normally a board you need to see when you're playing Obsession for Windows. It will remind you of what tiles happen to be in the builder's market, but more importantly, you might come here if you want to see the number of guests in the casual guest deck, the number of guests in the prestige deck, the number of cards in the objective deck that remain, how many tiles happen to be in the bag, and a more complete display of the servants for hire. Again, this is not normally a screen you're going to need to visit when you're playing, but it's here if you're interested. Click or hit the S key to make that go away. We've already seen the special actions button. Just click that to remind yourself of what the special actions are, and click the message to make that screen go away. The Builder's Market button, or hitting the B key, brings up the display at the bottom that shows the Builder's Market for the game, as well as the servants for hire and both reserve lists when the reserves kick in. It's this display that you'll be seeing when you're actually purchasing a tile from the market or hiring a servant from the servants for hire. Clicking the Builder's Market button again or hitting the B key again causes that display to go away. You can also right-click or possibly click if you're not in the middle of purchasing a tile. When you do bring up the Builder's Market display, when I hover over a card in my hand, I see the large version of the card displayed, but my hand of cards does not come to the foreground and does not obscure the Builder's Market. Only when I come down here and hover over one of the tiles in the Builder's Market will my hand of cards then cover the Builder's Market display. And then if I bring my mouse back down to the lower half of any one of the cards, then the Builder's Market reappears. Once I bring my mouse away from that area altogether, then my hand of cards won't come to the foreground again until I hover over one of these tiles. Just a reminder that the H key or the hand button controls the display of your hand. The O key or the objectives button controls the display of your objectives, and you could toggle back and forth if you wish. You could also right-click a card in your hand or one of your objective cards to toggle between your objectives in your hand. There's a display up here in the upper right corner that indicates the players and their colors in the current game. As you can see, currently green is the start player, as indicated by the black bar, and green is currently the active player as well. It's his turn. That's the meaning of the T key. If I want to see another player's player board, I can simply click one of these buttons. This is the red player's hand of cards and their objectives. And I can also display the blue player. This is the blue player's objectives and their hand of cards as well. So the D indicates that that's the player I'm currently displaying. If you don't see the D, it simply means that the player whose turn it currently is the one who's on display. Another couple of buttons here for administrative use. The About button shows you the version of Obsession you're currently playing, in my case version 1.00. There are 3 different links in this display. If I click here, I'll see my user profile on BoardGameGeek. It's not a very exciting profile. If I click here, you can visit my Patreon page and donate to my cause. And clicking here will allow you to write me an email. As you can see, the default subject of the email is bug report. That's probably the reason you're going to be writing to me more often than not. Clicking anywhere else on this window, or clicking the About button, or hitting the U key on your keyboard will cause that display to be hidden. The New button allows you to start a new game. It's obviously not something I want to do at this point. Let's say I set up to go to the front parlor and I invite these 3 people and try to hit continue. I'm going to get a message that says I've not invited the correct number of guests. If I uninvite the daughter and click continue, I'll see a message that indicates that I can only invite ladies to this particular activity. And now I'm back to the main message that says choose an activity. The last message button lets me see the previous message that I might have missed. In this case, the one that said I can only invite ladies. If I hit the last message button again, I'll see the message previous to that. And the more I hit it, the more messages I'll see. The P or the A key on your keyboard pauses the game. Useful when you're playing against a solo player, or if you want to pause during the enjoy favor step. In this game, we're playing with an open courtship, and the current theme card is displayed up here at the top next to the family crest of the current player, so you can see that currently we're vying for prestige. This little purple box here shows you what's happening as far as the events are concerned. So as you can see, we're reminded that there's a village fair in 2 rounds and a courtship that's going to happen in 3 rounds. A mini display of the builder's market is shown here, so I can hover over any one of these little tiles to see that particular tile on the display. And a little mini display of my objective cards for the current player are displayed here. Finally, the box up here is a place where you can type notes to yourself. Helpful if you're playing a multiplayer game. For example, we could see that the green player cares about lady servants, so I might want to remind myself about that up here. And if I go over to the blue player, we could see that they're interested in collecting UD servants, 3 valets, and wealth. If I go back to the green player, I can see their note displayed. If I go back to the blue player, their notes displayed. The buttons in this yellow control window in the top right-hand corner are all going to be covered in the next video. Thanks for watching.